Hi Matthew, so your scavenger hill is all done. These hills are absolutely incredible. This is about the fourth one I've done with a master chassis. So yeah, always a pleasure to do these. Pretty complicated, and yeah, there's a few things you need to know about running them. So let's get right into it.
So obviously the first thing to note is the petal arrangement, which, as you know, is quite delicate but absolutely amazing. So yeah, this one all looks all right. The screws are tiny and there's lots of them. I've been through and sort of checked them all. A couple are a little bit loose, but I've nipped them all up. With such small threads, it's quite difficult to Loctite them. I found Loctite doesn't work very well on very, very small threads. So it's just a question of keeping an eye and make sure none fall out. They should be fine for the most part, I would have thought. But as I say, just keep an eye. You can get spares if you do ever lose any. So yeah, so that's the petals. Now, the other thing to note is blade retention. If you look with the petals closed, these three screws are in line. That's how you tell that is the blade retention. These screws are replicated all the way around, and three of the four are dummies. So that's blade retention in line with those two. Obviously, when you open them up, it's sort of that's the pattern. But yeah, so that's that. When we come to that bit, now to get it going, obviously you know all this, but I'll run through it anyway. So pommel's J-lock idea. Never have it that way or the chassis will fall out when you take the pommel off. So emitter must be pointing down, take off the pommel, and then the chassis can slide out. Now if you look on there, put it a bit further back, you can see that screw, and there's another one on the other side. That has to align with that channel, and that channel is sort of replicated along the spine of the hill all the way, the spine of the chassis all the way up. So that has to stay in line for it to come out. If you try and put the chassis in or out with it misaligned, it won't go. So yeah, so that's one thing to note. So yeah, so there is the chassis. Obviously I've not done any weathering to it. Your guy did all that. Yeah, looks great. Hatch and everything. Crystal chamber. I do modify these crystals. I sort of varnish them to make them look shiny, and also as standard they come with like curves on them, and I've always thought crystals are about straight edges, not curves, so I tend to grind them into a more crystal type shape. So yeah, so that's the crystal. We've got our hatch at the back, held on with magnets. There's a little protective screen over the board to try and prevent any of the metal touching any electronics. Bit of foam there to help it, and that is just a diffuser for that tiny little speck is a tiny accent LED, so it's just to diffuse the light from that. I would generally put the hatch on before you power it up just to be on the safe side, but everything's pretty well protected. So obviously to get it going, there's our kill switch, personalised boot sound, and then you're into the animations. Now there's another LED in there. You've got the crystal, obviously, you've got the blue animating one at the back. I'll also include this sheet which has you can change the blade colours yourself. That has all the defaults and all the colours you can access for each preset. It's got all the different blade and crystal chamber effects listed on there, so yeah, it helps you sort of navigate your way around it. Although, I mean, being such a specific hill, I imagine you'll just leave it on a sort of on a ray setting. So what I've also done, you'll notice when I press the button, you get a clicking sound. So I'll explain why that is in a minute. But to get it going, it's short click and let go to fire it up. There's a rotating plasma gate, arcing in there. And then if you look in this center section, over a few seconds, it will gradually stop flickering. The flickering is that light shining through it. It will gradually sort of go solid red. The idea being that the core gets red hot. And then when you shut it off, which is press and hold, you can see the insides are sort of red hot and take a few seconds to cool down. And then once they've cooled down, blinking will start again on that section. So yeah, there's also, if we go to the third scavenger preset, there's three versions of the scavenger font on there, but Scavenger 2. Number 2 has a pulsing crystal and a slightly different idle hum. Scavenger 3, when we fire up Scavenger 3, you've still got the red heat effect. That red heat effect is on all the presets. That's a sort of standard thing. Give it a few seconds to heat up. And then when we shut it off, you'll hear the metal. Obviously metal expands when it gets hot. You'll hear the metal sort of cooling down Don't know if you could hear that because I've got the microphone next to my mouth, but anyway, you'll hear it in real life. So yeah, so that's that, another little bit of added realism. So yeah, the click. Now the reason I've added that click, well, the click is not a mechanical click, it's being played by the Profi board for every press and release, two slightly different clicks. The reason is, with these petals, it's hard to know when you're actually pressing the button. There's a lot of mechanicals going on here. So it's difficult to sort of know when you're activating it and when you're letting go. And obviously to access different features, you need to sort of press and hold or press and release, whatever. So it just helps you navigate the Profi board's features. If you don't like it, it's very easy to get rid of. Just take the SD card out, pop it in a computer, navigate to shared and then function, and then move the press and release files into the unused effects folder, and then the Profi board won't be able to find them, so it won't play them. So yeah, all very simple if you don't like that feature. So to get it going with a blade, let's say line up the screw in the spine like that. J lock. Obviously that J goes around that little screw, locks in place, and then I won't bore you with fitting the blade. Suffice to say, it's just obviously unscrew the screw, take the blade plug out, and then you can just light it up in the normal way like any other saber. Obviously be super careful putting the blade in about these petals. It's easy to catch it with the blade, so just don't be too cavalier with it. We've got all our flash on clash, blaster blocks, and then lock up is hold and initiate a clash. And then obviously you also got the ignition pre-ignition effect when you sort of first fire it up. Again, just like in the movie, and then it's press and hold to shut it off. So there's your scavenger.
So thanks for giving me the chance to build this amazing hilt for you. Obviously it comes with, as well as the hilt, you've got custom SaberSense magazine, special scavenger edition for that one. So yeah, enjoy, and may the force be with you.